Hello, Moto! Last week, Motorola introduced three new phones, the Edge 50 Fusion, the Edge 50 Pro, and the Edge 50 Ultra. In this video, I'll get to that. And that's very good news for anyone who gets fed up with me waving phones about. In this review, I'm focusing on the Edge 50 Pro because that's the one that they gave me, and, well, I think it's the pick of the bunch. These Edge 50 phones continue Motorola's Beyond Device approach and their strategic partnerships with Corning, Bose, and, I hope I get this right, Pantone. But the big question is, should you pay attention to this relatively well-priced mid-range phone? I think you should. So the Edge 50 Pro comes in three colours: Luxe Lavender, which is this one, Moonlight Pearl, and Black Beauty. Inside we have the Snapdragon 7 Gen 3 platform, 12GB of RAM with RAM Boost, 512GB of storage. You can't change that, that is the only choice you get, and it's running Android 14. The display is a 6.7-inch Super HD panel with HDR10+, a 144Hz refresh rate, a 360Hz touch rate for gaming mode, and 2000 nits of peak brightness. The battery is 4500 milliamps and it is compatible with 125 watt turbo power. And yes, you do get the adapter for that in the box. There's also up to 50 watts wireless charging and 10 watts wireless power sharing. It has Dolby Atmos support and Snapdragon sound and IP68 water resistance. The price, £599. In terms of where this sits in the rest of the range, we also have the Edge 50 Ultra. That has a Snapdragon 8S Gen 3 chip, more RAM, more storage, a slightly better camera system, slightly better display, and different materials and design. That one is £849. Then we have the Edge 50 Fusion, which is the budget phone. That has the Snapdragon 7S Gen 2, a lesser camera system. The display isn't quite as bright. That one costs £349. So all three of these phones are interestingly priced and interestingly spec'd. How does the Pro fare? The Edge 50 Pro is made from a sandblasted aluminium frame, which means it's not too heavy but not too light, and it feels reassuringly robust. So you can take your titanium and, take it somewhere else. The back is made from vegan leather, because of course it is, but it feels more rubbery than leathery. The good news is, unlike most modern smartphones, this doesn't slip off every surface. And that's because this vegan leather introduces some friction, and that is a good thing. The only thing to bear in mind with the design of this phone is the fact that the display is curved. I know that some of you do not like curved displays at all because I read the comments. They've never really bothered me. I've had a couple of issues with this phone where I've pressed things on the side by mistake, but it's few and far between, and personally, I love how expansive that display is. It just feels massive, and because there's no Monkey Island at the top, it just feels like a very immersive experience. But as for the design overall, I think it's understated, which isn't a bad thing. I think it's smart. I think it's the right size as well. I love this sized phone. In a way, it makes me a little bit jealous being an S24 Ultra user because we've got so used to massive phones. And the Edge 50 Pro is just a perfect combination of a decently sized display that is very immersive and perfect one-handability. It's just a very convenient phone to hold, use, and put into your pocket. I'm a big fan of the look and feel of this phone. Okay, performance. Now I'm putting all of my cards on the table here to tell you that I've reached the point with smartphone reviews where I don't really know what to say about performance. If you know me, you know that I don't do gaming, I don't do any kind of intensive work on my smartphone. I don't know how to push these devices. I know you can run benchmarks, but they don't tell you anything really. When it comes to everyday use, they all feel the same. And yes, my B-roll is just me flicking through apps, flicking through the multitasking, scrolling up and down. I don't know what else to do with them. Every phone I've tested over the last 2, maybe 3 years has felt perfectly speedy and smooth for everyday use. So if you buy the Edge 50 Pro, you'll love it. You won't think, oh, this is a bit sluggish, or why does this thing keep crashing? Because it won't. Okay, so the ability not to go above 512 gig of storage, although not performance related, might be a bit jarring for some people, but that's why the Edge 50 Ultra exists. We have the choice, but if you're watching this video and you're thinking about the Edge 50 Pro, trust me, it's fast enough. And yes, it may have last season's Snapdragon chip, but that doesn't matter. The display, if we take out the curved edges for a second, is lovely. It is super bright, it's ultra sharp, it's incredibly vibrant. Although again, we do seem to be reaching peak display quality on mid-range phones. Most of them are really good. And yes, it has stereo speakers, which I know matters because once again, I read the comments. As for the battery, it's very good. It's a 2-day battery and it is on par with every other Android phone that I've tested over the last 12 months, particularly when it comes to standby. We do not talk enough about how good Android phones are on standby. They last well, not forever, but they last a very, very long time. And that 125 watt supercharging is really useful. Remember, I used to be an iPhone user, and anyone who comes from iPhone land will find 125 watt supercharging bonkers. The ability to plug this thing in for 4 minutes, just 4 minutes to get a day's worth of use is just... Oh, a very quick shout out to whoever came up with the Motorola gestures. This is my first experience of them and they're brilliant. You can use 3 fingers to take a screenshot. You can chop twice to turn the flashlight on and off. You can twist twice to open the camera from any screen. And you can swipe back and forth on the screen to enter split screen multitasking. The only smartphone gesture I've ever used in the past is the shake to undo on the iPhone. These, although a little bit annoying when you're filming a YouTube video, are genuinely useful. Let's talk about the camera system. It has a 50 megapixel main rear camera with an f1.4 aperture, quad pixel technology and optical image stabilization, a 13 megapixel ultra-wide / macro camera with an f2.2 aperture, a 10 megapixel telephoto camera with a 3x optical zoom and an f2.0 aperture. That also has optical image stabilization. The selfie cam is 50 megapixels with an f1.9 aperture and quad pixel technology. And when it comes to video, it shoots up to 4K at 60 frames per second. It also includes some of the key Moto AI powered features, including the new photo enhancement engine, adaptive stabilization, autofocus tracking, and style sync. This is, as I always say, the most subjective part of any smartphone review. Now, I think the Edge 50 Pro photos are what they should be for a mid-range phone. They're reliable, so you can take photos of fast-moving objects like kids and dogs without the shutter causing a problem. They're detailed, they're vibrant, and there's a nice range of focal lengths, although I wish there was a 5x. I want optical 5x on every single phone now. Ever. I do like these photos. I can't really pick any fault with them. Occasionally certain colours are a little bit blown out, but you get that on a lot of phones. And for me, the reliability is the most important thing. I think it's doing a really good job, but I'll turn it over to you. Let me know what you think about these Edge 50 Pro photos in the comments. Let's quickly go back to Style Sync. And this is basically a feature where you can take a photo of your clothing and have AI turn that clothing into wallpaper for your phone. So your phone will then match your aesthetic. So let's give it a go. Let's do this live. So I'll go into it here and then take a photo of my getup. Bear with. So, yep, go for that. Set, home screen, there we go. Let's talk about something else. Motorola didn't just launch phones last week, they also announced these, which are the Moto Buds Plus. And these were developed in partnership with Bose, which immediately got my attention. They've got adaptive noise cancelling, EQ tuning, Dolby Atmos support, head tracking, lossless audio, they're water repellent, they've got 8 hours of battery life or 38 with the case, and they're £129, which isn't very much money at all for a pair of earbuds that are basically made by Bose. And yes, they do sound like they're made by Bose. They are really impressive. They do feel their price a little bit. The case is a bit plasticky and the buds, well, they're not much to write home about really. looks-wise, but they are STEM designs, which is a good thing, and who cares? They sound great, the noise cancelling is impressive, and at the time of filming you can get them free with this. There's a cheaper version of these as well, which are £49. They don't have noise cancelling, they don't have the Dolby Atmos or the head tracking, but 49 quid, and they have more battery life. The new range of buds were definitely a highlight last week. It's conclusion time, and I think if you want an Android phone that is good looking, that doesn't slip off any surface, that's well designed, that's interesting to look at, that takes reliable, vibrant photos, and which feels as fast as any flagship in everyday use, the Edge 50 Pro should definitely be on your list. I think the biggest challenge Motorola has is getting people to go for the Ultra instead, because, okay, it's better in most areas, but not by much. And these new mid-range phones are so good. And that does beg the question, are we reaching peak mid-range phone territory? I think we are. Is that a bad thing? No. If you've still got some time and you want to hear how my journey from the iPhone 15 Pro Max to the S24 Ultra has been going, keep watching for a link.